With the crazy sales of Elden Ring Nightreign reaching 2 million pre-order purchases in one day, with less than 2 weeks hitting nearly 4 million units, the fact is, people love them some Elden Ring. But even with all the love, both Elden Ring fans and even the media are a little skeptical. But is Elden Ring Nightreign overrated? As longtime Elden Ring fans, it's up to the Marsman crew to investigate this question and give our official review. Let's jump into it. Alright guys, let's start off with the good. And I gotta say, with Elden Ring Nightreign, the name does have a big weight to it, and I think something that Elden Ring that you kind of really loved, that we all kind of loved, and what Nightreign does bring with it is the combat. And I felt like the basic combat loop between, and I know a lot of people out there say that it's like repetitive, that it's a dodging simulator, but that's what Bloodborne games are all about. Like all these Bloodborne and Souls-like games, they're about dodging and attacking and wielding magic and trying to just have that kind of that cadence of knowing when your enemy's going to attack, knowing when to parry, knowing when to do certain things. And I feel like Nightreign does that well, and they even incorporate aspects that I even kind of really like and wish that even Elden Ring had done, which was the advanced movement, the climbing mechanics, and it kind of like does make it where it's like the entire area is your playground to a certain extent, where you can do those ultra sprints and you don't really need to use any sort of like horses or anything like that. It's kind of just like I can just sprint across the map, climb up anything, and that's kind of gives me that like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild feeling where I can just go anywhere, right? And I like that idea, especially where you have to get out of there in a fast kind of pace because there's bosses that are chasing you and you got to just beeline out of there. And I feel like that's something that Nightreign does extremely well, and the fact that they also incorporated almost all the weapons from Elden Ring, and it kind of just gives you that like a different vibe. Now, the slight issue with the gameplay, I guess you would say, is that sometimes I feel like the latency that you get with the controller to the screen is slightly off. I feel like it's a lot more crisper in Elden Ring, but I do like the fact that there are increased movement speeds and different things that you can do in Nightreign compared to the original game. So, Haki, what is something that you thought was good here?
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely is an Elden Ring game, right? And Elden Ring always brings great maps, great artwork, great music, great combat, like you said. So it definitely has the core of Elden Ring, which I think, and I always mention is a real key aspect when games like this do a shoot-off. Now, talking about the smaller things, I think some things like the detailed maps at the end showing you kind of the journey that you went on, where you got your weapons, what places, what dungeons or bosses you hit first to get the weapons. I think that was a very cool thing. But I think one of the best things was how well the map was generated. I mean, there was a decent amount of enemies to continuously get ruins, and it was pretty diverse. The area bosses were pretty diverse. I wish there were different area bosses, or at least new area bosses. Although we did see, the big bosses, day 3, were all pretty much brand new. So I thought that was probably one of my favorite things, is they always come with the combat, and they always come with just outstanding bosses and arenas and just amazing art.
And Frank, what is your good?
Yeah, I mean, I'll piggyback on what Haki said. And to me, Elden Ring, you mentioned so many of the things that we like about Elden Ring. One of the big core factors is those moments, right? Those bosses. And you have 116 bosses in Elden Ring Nightreign. Those final bosses, those Night Lords, are all new, which was really important. And then you see obviously a lot of carryover from a lot of famous bosses, right? From Dark Souls, Elden Ring, that we know incorporated back into this during these expeditions. Now, do I wish that we got probably some other games like more Bloodborne, more Sekiro, stuff like that, or maybe in expansions? I really wish it was in the first, but you still get a ton of those really impressive moments. Even with those new bosses, really cool like art design, really cool moments that they create, even though like you're still playing on like the same battlefield, right? But the battlefield kind of changes with some of these bosses when they go into their second phase. So it still creates kind of that cinematic moment. And it really forces you to use your teamwork, which we'll get into another part of this, because these bosses are tough. I also like some of the moments that they sprinkle in, whether you're being invaded, by these kind of NPC Nightfarers, or getting invaded by Margot, or getting, the Frenzied Flames showing up, right? I do like these kind of events that occur during your runs that bring some new flavors. So that core thing of that cinematic boss feeling, those guard feelings, and getting these different weapons with these different effects, to me, is still in this, and one of the core features of what made Elden Ring so special. Nightreign does do enough to keep that energy in this game.
Yeah, and I feel like the fact that the kind of all this music and the themes, I was very impressed with how they continued that into this Nightreign, because a lot of times these side games aren't necessarily to the same quality of the original. Like, and the only game I ever felt that was that level of good was the Persona series, and they came out with Persona Strikers, which had identical music level, and actually in some cases even better than the original. And this kind of gave me that vibe where the boss battles and the kind of the music they incorporated was just phenomenal. And I was just like, hey, you know, it gives me a good feeling that they're still keeping that vibe. Now, with the good, we do need to talk about the bad. And I think obviously you have to look at this game and definitely criticize the servers. And you know, the servers were absolutely horrendous when we first played, to the point where even from the beta to now, there really hasn't been too much improvement until now. Granted, we can play together as a group, right? Or sometimes we can actually play in duos if not all of us are online. It was kind of like impeding our play of the game to a certain extent, where we had to just solo queue and go find randoms. And that kind of ties into my biggest flaw, is the reliance on multiplayer as really the only way to succeed in this game. Now, in Elden Ring, as much as I heard everyone out there, everyone under the sun, saying Elden Ring is too difficult, you need a game that's for everybody, right? Because, you know, you need difficulty meters and all this stuff. I think Nightreign is kind of taking the cake of being even more difficult than Elden Ring to a certain extent, because it's almost kind of like you need to have a near perfect run to go defeat these bosses, get everything you need. And the worst of it all is luck. You need to get luck. You need to have a luck of the draw of what you get when you defeat a boss. You can get some horrendous weapons, you can get a power up, and then when you get like one of those things where it's like, oh, you emanate frost as you do a dodge, it's like, what's the point of me getting this thing when I'm fighting Margot or something? I'm just like, great, I get frost when I dodge now. That's really gonna help me when I'm fighting a flying monster. Like, that's really gonna give me a lot of bonuses here. So that's kind of the point that I feel like if you're gonna use the Souls-like kind of vibe for everything else and the combat and all that stuff, you might as well stay consistent to the you can play this on your own, and you won't necessarily have to want to like hit your head against the wall. Like, you actually can just play on your own if you want to. You play with a squad, like, at least make it consistent. And maybe they're doing that because they know that there's only like 8 different expeditions that you can really pick from at this point. So they want to make it extremely difficult so that you have something to keep grinding for until you do get more expansions. But it just feels like they're making things difficult in a really dumb way. Like, I don't necessarily think that you could have actually followed it more like an Elden Ring style, where the bosses get even more difficult as you keep going, and you can just make it harder that way. Like, you make the opening boss, like, yeah, he's difficult, but like, it's doable, right? To get people into the game and just make it a process a lot more simpler. In my opinion, I just feel like I don't want to come off as that guy like, it's just, if the game's hard is bad because it's difficult. It's not about that. It's more just saying, in Elden Ring, you didn't have to rely on multiplayer, to the point where people used to rag on you if you teamed up with people in Elden Ring, and now you're making it where like you have to team up with people just to actually have a kind of unified message and how you want to go about the mission, right? So, Hockey, what is one thing that you disliked about this game?
If I'm going to get real specific here, and I know Frank's going to feel me on this one, as a magic guy, as someone who loves to use magic and be a mage, right? Why do I have 0 FP flasks, right? I get it. You got the light shards or whatever they're called, but why not when I'm level 10, when I reach level 10, why can't I have 1 or 2 FP flasks and then have the 6 or 7, if you make it to all the churches, the 6 or 7 health flasks? So as someone who does a lot of magic, or who wants to do magic, when I'm at that 3rd day facing that big boss and I only have 2 light shards and just a little bit of magic to start off with, and I have 0 FP flasks, it really, really annoyed me. That's probably my one big bad for this game. And then just a small little one, that little eagle at the beginning of the game and throughout the map where you can like pick up and fly, I think is horrendous. I know you can run really fast, but right at the start of the game, why can't I, like Call of Duty, fly wherever I want to? Because I can run really fast and I can hook up back with my team, why can't I fly that Eagle wherever I want? So you got the big one, no FP flasks at all in this game, and then you got that small little dumb Eagle at the beginning of the game and throughout the game.
Yeah, for a battle royale, you don't really have much of an option of where you're heading to. You're kind of stuck. It's like it's like you're forced to go to Tilted Towers every second, and you're like, I don't want to go to Tilted Towers today because I know it's going to be awful. Let me go somewhere else. So like at least you have a choice. But Frank, what is one bad for you?
Well, I will say this. Again, we talk about network and, the patches that have come on. We know networks can get fixed over time. But what I will say, there are some core problems with this game that is focused, like Marsman said, as being a multiplayer game. The ping system on the map is so clunky. And again, there's no chat, right? So you can't communicate with everyone around you. But this is a multiplayer focused game, a teamwork focused oriented game. They're trying to have you work together as a group, but there's no way to chat, whether it's text, whether it's voice chat. And then the pinging system is so clunky on the map. You talk about it being hard. And again, we suffered through it. It's such a great feeling to finally beat these bosses, but you're getting frustrated on aspects that are not part of Elden Ring when it's a multiplayer game. Right, you're missing core multiplayer features, and you're going to get jerks all around that say bad things to people. If you want to do like a heavy filter like Marvel Rivals does, where you can barely say anything that could be looked at as egregious, they'll just bleep it out. But you need some form of communication. It's like they're punishing you if you're playing solo. You're solo queued, you get these teammates, and you mentioned how reliant it is on teamwork. There are kids that will sell, they will do their own thing while you try to come together, and it ruins the run. It absolutely ruins the run. So they're forcing you. And if you, again, play with two players for the first week of the game, you couldn't find a third guy, right? So it's like you play solo, you're at the real reliance of a team that you can't communicate with. You can't really ping the map that much, to get through these expeditions. Like you said, the luck of the draw. Or you get three and then you can go into a Discord map, but how many people have three at the exact same time, at the exact same day when you want to play? So it's really discouraging a multiplayer focused game, missing some core features about multiplayer. And one thing I'll say too, we put about 40 hours, into this game. I didn't complete all the expeditions. We played a bunch of them. The map does get repetitive, and I was really hoping, I'm sure we're going to see in an expansion they talked about later this year, but the map gets repetitive, and you're starting to see what we feared right out of the gate, which is how many different nuances can this map change? Right now, you play 40 hours, you pretty much seen it all. So to me, the repetitiveness, the missing core features for a multiplayer focused game is what is a core problem with this one.
Yeah, and from that, let's jump to our final verdict, our galactic grades. And, in this component, I want to make it a little bit different. For not only we're going to do our review, like we always do, and talk about whether you should buy this now, later, or not at all, but I want to kind of answer a key function that we were sent to investigate, and whether, as Elden Ring fans, is this game overrated or just a disappointment based on what we played. We played a lot of Elden Ring. We've all become Elden Lords, right? I even did my second run, and and everything along those lines, and I will say this, when you have a game that's so big as Elden Ring, right, that becomes like one of those like synonymous, like some people put this on the top 10s of their whole lifetime playing video games. Like that's how good of a game Elden Ring is. And because of how popular it is, when they announced that Nightreign was coming, I was in shock. I was excited. I was just happy knowing that we were going to get more Elden Ring content, because of the fact that, there was all these rumors that Elden Ring is not getting a sequel, and we still don't know if that's even going to happen. And DLC's done after, obviously, the Shadows of the Erdtree, and I was happy. I was elated, right? And so I think for this game, that's $40 currently in most of the outlets right now. It's a game that I feel like is definitely overrated for what people were gonna paint it as. I don't think it's as good as what like the sales numbers are telling you. I think it's a solid game. I don't think it's matching even close to that of what the other Souls-like games are, because it's technically like, yes, it's using Elden Ring, but it's not really a Souls-like game to the level that we're used to. It's a roguelike game and what it is, but it's not Souls-like in the full function. So in my opinion, and maybe I'm being controversial here, I think it's overrated. I think honestly it's a buy later type of game. And I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10. Right? I think this is a above average game. I don't think that it reaches a level of an 8 and above yet. I feel like as we've all said here, it gets over repetitive and to the point where it's so much built around luck and you have to have a near perfect run. Like there are times where me or Frank were playing off stream and we literally are sitting there like this is the greatest run we've ever seen. Like I'm getting to level like 14, 15. I'm like, I've never gotten this high before at the end of an expedition. There's no way we can lose. And somehow, some way, a dude dies with like less than 1% of the life left on the character. And we're just like devastated, And it granted, that's kind of the allure of Elden Ring. It's so difficult that you finally beat the boss and you just feel elated. But it's just kind of like, what else do you want to help to get, like, we almost had to like, because like if Chris wasn't online and we had to go find a third person, it's like we had to depend on somebody to like not screw up just so that we can win. And if we get down and then we have to depend on that person and they screw up, it ruins the entire experience. Like, it's like you're never going to get that lucky again, that we get everything we needed to get ready for that fight. So it just feels like it's not a skill issue. No, like, oh, just get good and you don't have to worry about it. It's not even a skill issue. It's like a luck component that gets thrown in there. Like we can be as good as we can, but if luck is not on our side that round, then we just can't win. So I think this is a 7.5. It's an overrated game. It's not a bad game. It's above average to me, but I think it's a buy later. I think if they add more expeditions and more layers of the map, it definitely will feel like a really like full game. It's $40, which does make it a little bit better on your wallet, but I just feel like it does get repetitive. Like we all put a lot of hours in this game and we all kind of like, well, we know exactly where to go because the maps doesn't really change much at all. They do add some events, but for the most part, it's pretty much consistent. So, Chris, what is your galactic grade?
I'm a little bit higher than you, and I bet I'm going to be a little bit higher than Frank as well. I am at an 8.0 flat. I am actually at a buy now because of the $40. It's half the price of these games now that are pushing $70, $80. Listen, I think it's a good game. It has everything core-wise that Elden Ring does. I mentioned you got insane map settings, you got amazing artwork, the combat is pretty much Elden Ring, plus a little bit more vibrant because you can sprint a lot faster, you can climb a lot faster. And the bosses were there for me as well. But like you guys said, they had some really big core issues with the game. I think Frank really nailed the multiplayer aspect and how kind of it was a little buns, really. I mean, if you were alone or just with two players, it was very hard. You had to essentially just hope the rando was like really, really good. So listen, my galactic grade, like I said, 8.0. I think this is a game, like you just said, Mars, that gets better with time. So if they do add some expansions, hopefully they're not too expensive, $20, $25, but hopefully they give us more bosses, right? I think it's a good game. I think if you like Elden Ring or if you loved Elden Ring, then this is definitely a game to buy. But if you've never played Elden Ring or a Souls game, you are probably going to waste your money with this game. Especially if you don't have anyone to play with. You are going to buy this game and you are going to struggle a whole lot because, like both of you said, this game is very, very difficult, especially if you've never played a Souls game or Elden Ring. Elden Ring was my first game and I struggled, throughout. Once I got the hang of it, it ended up being good. And listen, I had a lot of fun with this game, but like I said, it's going to get better with time, I think. I'm at an 8.0 by now. I think it's a little underwhelming, but I don't think it's overrated.
Frank, what do you think for your galactic grade?
Yeah, so for me, I'm giving this a 7.5 out of 10. I am with Marsman here. What I will say this, I think it is a bit disappointing for me, depending on your point of view. If you look at this as a From Software, and I've said this, on stream, I say this, with the guys here. I think From Software today, as of right now, is the best developer in video games on planet Earth. And some of the numbers kind of back that up. Over the last 10 years, if you include Shadow of the Erdtree, they have 4 games that have a 90 or above in Metacritic. And Dark Souls 3 was an 89. And Armored Core was like an 87. So they have 6 games hitting at 85 plus, which is really difficult to do. And they only have 2 games at below an 80 over the last 10 years. And I'm not counting DLCs, mainline games that they are, whether it's their side projects or main titles, only 2 games below an 80. So this is a developer that has performed at a very high level with 2 Game of the Years, including Elden Ring. So if you look at it from a From Software label, bam, From Software made Elden Ring Nightreign, I do think you come off a little bit disappointed. However, if you look at this game just solely at its core, for $40, I think helps it a lot. But there is that caveat. I am at a buy now if you like the Elden Ring universe, if you have a couple people to play with. You know, if you kind of like this, if you're maybe new to this and you like survival type roguelikes, this is the kind of game that could satisfy your needs. However, if you like the exploration of Elden Ring, if you like searching, you know, throughout the lands, what's over there, you know, finding new things, finding bosses, this might not hit that for you. If you love playing alone, this might not hit that for you. And so to me, I am going to buy now with that caveat on there's certain, you know, expectations or requirements that you have to like that I think will hit those tunes for you. But if you're just looking for that grand exploration that Elden Ring gave you, that you can play solo, that you can go through it at your own pace, this is not for you. This is high pace, very difficult, and teamwork is super important. I know that there's this offline solo mode, which was unplayable in the beginning. They made it better with patches, but still, even when you play by yourself, it's not as enjoyable. They kind of really want you to play with others. It's just not as fun playing by yourself. So I'm at a 7.5. To me, it is disappointing, but I am at a buy now. $40 saves a lot, and depending on what your style of play is, I think it'll hit for some people, but not for everybody.
But what do you think about Elden Ring Nightreign? You think it's overrated? You think it's disappointing? Do you think it's hitting the mark? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you like this type of content, drop a thumbs up and subscribe to support the channel. If you want to support the channel, you can also join up on our memberships with some awesome perks and rewards. Till next time, this is Marsman signing off. Game on.